Alright, so I'm wanting to do another quick little video here to talk about a different topic. So instead of talking about a specific class here, I'm talking more about a general BfA change. And that's going to be the change to GCD on a number of cooldowns and abilities. So one thing that's been talked about a lot is this change, the fact that things such as, for marksman here, true shot, double tap, Hunter's Mark are all things that are now on the GCD, things that probably in the past would have been off the GCD, and how that change makes the class feel. This is something that I'm going to plan to be talking about when I do my further class videos here, is to dive into, okay, how do some of these changes feel? Does it feel clunky? Does it feel fine? And in general, I would say that I'm not opposed to this change. I actually think I like the change. I think that in general, as long as they're smart with what abilities are and off the GCD, that it can really make you actually think and plan out. I mean, previously, for example, I had mentioned about using double tap with rapid fire. You would just macro that together, right? You just macro double tap with rapid fire and call it a day. Now, that wouldn't be ideal, because again, you might waste some time on double tap, not be on cooldown, but it would work, it would function. You can't do that anymore, right? Because they're both GCD abilities, you can't macro them together. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about how this feels when it comes to these abilities. Starting with Hunter's Mark. So, the thing that I want to really focus here is the fact that we have to now change our mindset. You now have to think about, is this button worth pressing? And does it gain its value? So again, if you think about your DPS or your HPS, whatever the case may be, every GCD matters. We all know that ABC, always be casting, is one of the most important things. That you're always hitting button, you're always kind of planning out your next move, unless of course you're energy starved or resource starved, whatever the case may be. So, Hunter's Mark, is it worth hitting the button? Well, what happens when you hit the button? So you gain 5% damage on a target, and if that target dies, you gain 20 focus. So, if it's on a single target boss, you're putting it before the boss fight begins, no big deal. If it's an ad type fight where you're switching it around, the thing is, okay, is putting this Hunter's Mark up worth the 20 focus? If it's worth the 20 focus when I get back, sure. Now let's think about, okay, what's 20 focus worth? Well, I mean, it can get you an arcane shot, right? It can get you two-thirds of an aim shot. Depending on other abilities, it might be able to give you, something along the lines of part of a barrage. It can give you, two serpent stings. It can give you explosive shot. You get the point. So yeah, in general, I think that for most situations, getting that 5% damage. So again, if it's up for any period of time where you get some of that damage off of it, as well as the fact that you will get 20 focus when the thing dies, then yeah, it has value. Again, especially when you're comparing it to something like a steady shot, right? A steady shot is the GCD you would probably use. In fact, this is actually a bit more than a GCD, but about the GCD you would use to replace with it, right? And a steady shot gives you 10 focus and does a very, very little amount of damage. This gives you 20 focus and increases all your damage by 5%. So if you think about it in that way, if you think about it in terms of, okay, is this GCD worth it? What am I getting out of this GCD? Yeah, Hunter's Mark in many cases is worth it. Now, if it's a little tiny that's going to die in 2 seconds, yeah, don't use Hunter's Mark. That's not the point of it. But it's going to last long enough. Think dots for like a Shadow Priest or a Warlock, right? Is it going to last long enough for the dots to get value? If so, use it. Double tap. Now, again, double tap's a little bit different here. It's a 1 minute cooldown, and I think the longer the cooldown, the less the effect hurts. In general, I think that on these minute plus cooldowns, it's absolutely fine because it's one GCD every minute. And again, what are you gaining here? You're either gaining a second aim shot or double rapid fire. And I've mentioned how I really do think that the double rapid fire, because of the focus and the fact that currently its damage is actually scaling better, is going to be worth it. And even if it's double aimed, think about it. An aim shot normally would cost you 30 focus, does a bunch of damage, but takes 2.5 seconds. You're spending 1 GCD to get an aim shot. That's definitely worth it, right? That's a button you would normally press, right? If you could press a button and get a free aim shot, not a free aim shot, but basically a free aim shot on that GCD, yeah, you're going to hit that button. That's a button you would definitely hit. So why would you not want to hit it now? Same thing for True Shot, right? This does two things. It gives you a charge of aim shot, and it gives you 30% haste. So again, definitely worth it. Now, you can definitely think about, okay, well, if I hit True Shot, I don't want to then maybe use a double tap in that window, right? Because again, that's a GCD that's not benefiting from the haste. Now, I will say one thing, which is that remember, haste does decrease the GCD. So again, currently with my crappy levels of haste, I'm at something in the order of 1.26 second global cooldown, it says. And so having more haste actually reduces the GCD of something like a Hunter's Mark, something like a double tap. So while, yeah, there might not be the best synergy in that way where you don't want to kind of waste part of the cooldown. I think that's what a lot of the talk is about here, is that previously you would kind of just string a bunch of cooldowns together. Now, if you try to do that, you might be spending a good chunk of your cooldown just pressing other cooldowns. So yes, I do believe this is going to affect the way in which we chain cooldowns. You might be staggering them a bit more to get more benefit from them. But we've already been doing it before, right? You wouldn't true shot during heroism, right? So the same kind of logic applies. So again, I really actually like this change. And again, from here on out, every class that I do, I'm going to be talking about the effects of these GCD cooldowns now and how that might fit into the new kind of rotation and such. But for marksmen in general, I actually find that every single button that's now on the GCD is worth it, right? It's something that you would spend a GCD on. It's worth more than the arcane shot or again the steady shot you would hit instead. Because that's what you have to think about. It's okay, what am I replacing in the rotation with this now? And is that something that is a increase in my overall DPS? Right? So yes, I absolutely think that for many of these abilities from marksman, it's worth the GCD. And as long as we're thinking about it in that way, I think we can start to evaluate other ones as time goes on. But thank you again. Just wanted to bring up this topic. I'll have some other kind of topic videos like this as time goes on. But hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you with a survival video soon.